G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. This is, I guess it's episode number 6 now, or component number 6 for the Effortless Phrasal Verb course. Again, apologies that I didn't have one this Monday. I was a little swamped. I was a little bogged down with everything else that was going on after going away on my father's 60th birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. I'm sure you'll be listening to this. Anyway, so we went down to Lawn. That was really good. Got to see a lot of birds, go to the beach, hang out with people, hang out with my dad's family friends. So they came and stayed with us in this huge house. It was really nice, right near the beach. But aside from that, I've just been working away like crazy, trying to get down as much as I can for Aussie English, as I'm sure you guys know. So there are 6 components or 5 components out now for the phrasal verb course, guys. So just a quick reminder, you can sign up for this course now. I go through all of these lessons. However, you get all this other content, this bonus content with PDFs of everything that I say. All the phrasal verbs that I use are highlighted on the PDFs. I give you definitions for them and exercises, because the aim of this course is to teach you to use phrasal verbs effortlessly. You can sign up for that now. It's only $97 if you sign up for it as I'm releasing it. After that, it's going to be $110. So if you sign up now, you'll save $13 in the long run. But yeah, you'll get a video with the slideshow that I'm reading off to present all of this stuff. You'll get an MP3, Word document, PDF, all these different things in different formats for you to pick which one works for you best, for you to play with, for you to learn with. You can put the MP3s and the videos on your phone. You can watch it on the train, all of that sort of stuff. But this video is free. It goes up on Facebook, YouTube, and the podcast, because I also want to help as many of you as possible. Anyway, let's just get into today's content, guys. I'll run through the lesson and then we can do a bit of a question and answer section at the end. If you guys have any questions about the content that we go through, about English in general, I might interview you guys a little bit and ask your opinion about the podcast at the end as well. In fact, I'm going to write that down now so that I don't forget, because I want to hear what you guys think of the podcast and which direction I can go in the future, because I'm just sort of thinking about different things that I can do. So yeah, if you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up, guys. Give me a like. If you have 30 seconds, give me a share as well, because that always boosts the post so that more people will see it. So I'm just going to quickly do that myself, because I am shameless and love sharing myself on my own Facebook page. So there you have it. Or on Aussie English, apparently, as I just did accidentally. Anyway, 1 sec, guys. Let me share this and then we will get into it. And apologies to everyone who's listening to this on the podcast later, who just has to be patient for 2 seconds. All right, so that's shared. Let's get into it. Today is the 6th component of the Effortless Phrasal Verb course, guys. Welcome. I hope you've been enjoying the course so far. Today we're going to be talking all about the particle down. So to go down, to move down, all the different kinds of phrasal verbs that we can create by adding the particle down after a verb. You're probably getting the rhythm by now, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. So down has 4 different basic uses as phrasal verbs, and then miscellaneous ones that I'll go over that kind of fall into all these categories, and then we'll do some expressions. So number 1, movement, downwards, right? This movement, this basic movement of downwards. Reduction, so if something reduces down, it could be that it's reducing like this, it could be that it's just going down like this, but it's that movement, the contraction, that reduction, the reduction down. That's number 2. Number 3 is to depress, to upset someone, or to reject someone or something, okay? Number 4, again, sort of like number 2, is restriction. So you can't, move outwards, you're getting restricted. You're, getting restricted. down. That's the fourth one. And then we have miscellaneous ones that might fall into some of these categories but tend to be a little more abstract. So let's get into it. All right, so the basic movement, downwards. The opposite of up or upwards, we're going downwards, down. So as we've gone over in previous ones, you can run down something, you can go down something, you can jog down something. I've tried to use a few different verbs here though, because we've covered those quite a bit. We've used a lot of those jump, run, walk verbs quite a bit. So you could lie down. So you're standing up, then you lie down. You could lie down in the grass. He lies down in the grass. He was standing up and then he lies down. You could sit down in the grass. So you were standing up and then you decide you want to sit down. So you sit down in the grass. If you get on your knees, you're kneeling down, right? So the basic movement is that you are up and now you're going down. Lying down, sitting down, kneeling down. You just pick the verb again, guys, and you put down on the end to show that it's a reduction or a reduction in height, I guess, so that movement down. Someone might ask you to get down from something. So as a kid, if I climbed up on something, my parents might tell me to get down. So if I climbed up in a tree, my parents might say, Pete, it's not safe, get down. Pete, it's not safe, hop down. Hop is to pull one leg up and jump on one leg, but we use that sort of colloquially, a bit like slang, as a way of saying get down. Can you hop down? And we might also say jump down. Can you jump down from the tree, mate? It's dangerous. So can you hop down from there? We can go down somewhere, or we can come down somewhere. So this would usually be, I guess, used for traveling. So if I go down to Geelong or I come down to Geelong, it's the idea of Melbourne's here, north of Geelong. Geelong's down here in the south. And so I go from up here, down here. So I go down or I come down, depending on whose perspective I'm talking about, right? I come towards the person, or if I'm talking about me being here, I go towards this person. Pretty self-explanatory. I might ride down a hill on a sled. So I'm on a sled, I'm at the top of a hill, the bottom of the hill is down here. So I ride the sled and I ride the sled down. Maybe I just slide down the hill. I could run down the hill, I could walk down the hill. The basic idea is I was at the top, I go to the bottom, and the overall movement is down. Next slide. We can talk about this too when eating or drinking something. So the basic idea here obviously is that if I put something in my mouth, it goes down into my stomach, right? And if I vomit, if I'm sick, it comes up. So it comes up or it goes down. So we quite often use this when talking about eating food or drinking drinks. So someone might gobble down their dinner, you know, and gobble is to kind of like really eat quickly, gobbled it down. We might wolf down our dinner. These are kind of two slang terms. So to wolf, literally like the wolf, the dog, the kind of animal, a wolf, they wolf down food because they eat really quickly, okay? So if we wolf down our dinner, it's that we've eaten it down. So it's gone in our mouths, down into our stomach. I might scull a drink or neck a drink. Both of these are colloquial slang terms that are quite often used. If you go to the pubs in Australia, if you go out, someone might scull a beer. And if you want to just talk about the fact that the beer's gone in their mouth, down into their stomach, they've sculled the beer down. They've drunk the beer down. They've necked it, as in you move your neck like this to drink the beer. It's a slang term. Guys will use that quite a bit. Yeah, neck it. Neck it, as in finish the beer. If you neck it down, you're necking the beer, you're drinking it, and it's going down. And if you get sick afterwards, you might throw it up. You might hurl it up. You might chuck it up. You might vomit it up. So the idea there being it was down here and it's come up and out of your mouth. Imagine that you're a little kid and you've got to have some medicine. So you've come down with the flu, you're sick, you've got to have some medicine. If you take a pill or maybe you have to drink a little bit of medicine, your father might say, go on mate, you can get it down. as in you can swallow it down, you can take it down, you can put it in your mouth and get it down into your stomach. You can do it. I know it's unpleasant, it's not nice, but you can swallow down the medicine, or you can get down the medicine, you can get the medicine down. And we also use this quite often with keep. So if he keeps his food down, that would be the idea that he wants to throw it up, but he's managing to keep it down. So he's maintaining it down in his stomach. So it wants to come up, but he's keeping it down. So dinner was a little weird. It didn't taste very good and it made me feel a bit sick, but I'm managing to keep it down. It's not coming up. All right. If you stand down, so we use stand down as a way of saying, more figuratively, but I guess it's the movement of downwards, figuratively, that you want to resign from something, that you are resigning, so you're giving your job up, but it's you relinquishing it. You're the one who's decided, I'm resigning. You're standing down from a position. So the manager stood down and left the business. He wasn't fired, he wasn't kicked out, he stood down, he decided to stand down. So you can imagine that he was on a platform and he stepped off it down. So his job was up here and he's given it up and he stepped down. Okay, stepped down. But you can also have it for fall in line, which means to sort of do what you're told. So if you're a soldier in the army and you were doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, or that your superior officer has said, I don't want you doing that, they might tell you to stand down, as in do what you're told. Fall in line and behave, stand down. So the soldier stood down and let the man pass after he was told off by his senior officer. You can settle down. You can use this figuratively to kind of quiet down. So this, I think we'll go over this later with regards to like reduction in sound. But if you settle down somewhere, I guess it's also figurative. You are creating a family and you're finding a location to live, and then you're sort of going to that location and settling down, meaning kind of like if something settles, it stops moving. So maybe if I was into traveling, I like going around the world, and then after 5 years of traveling everywhere, learning languages, figuring out what I want to do with my life, I decide actually I'm going to go down to Geelong where my parents and I grew up, where I lived, and I'm going to settle down and have a family in Geelong. So I'm settling. Imagine you've dropped a leaf and it falls like this and then it settles on the ground. It's settling down on the ground. So I'm settling in a location. I'm settling down in that location. No longer going to move. I'm going to have a family. I'll have some kids and I'll, get the standard life going. So we'll go over settle down again later though. A few more of these movement ones downwards. A tree can fall down. So you can chop down a tree. You can cut down a tree. A tree can fall down. The tree fell down in the forest. Did anyone hear it? A building, if a building falls down like this, well, they don't really fall down like that. They kind of crumble down, right? Or they topple down. Topple is like where the top of it comes off and it all just comes down as a result. To crumble down would be the idea that it's turning into like crumbs. Imagine if you get bread and do this with it and crumbs come off. If something crumbles, it's that little pieces are coming off and it's sort of disintegrating, right? It's falling apart. So if an old building if an old building topples down, it falls to the ground, it falls down. And it can also crumble down if it's like disintegrating. And yeah, we can chop down a tree, we can cut down a tree, we can saw down a tree. You just pick the verb that you want to use, guys, to describe how the tree's been, cut, chopped, sawn. And then the fact that it goes from standing up to lying down on the ground is why we choose to use the particle down. So we've chopped it and it's fallen down, we've chopped it down. We've cut it and it's fallen down, we've cut it down. We've sawed it, we've used a saw, so we've sawn it down and it's fallen to the ground, we've sawn it down. All right, how many more of these have we got? A few more. You can pat someone down. So pat is the idea of doing this to a cat, using your hand and kind of rubbing an animal, sort of touching an animal gently. That's to pat. Security guards can pat you down like this. So they'll touch your arms, they'll go under your arms, they'll check your body to make sure you've got no weapons, to make sure maybe if you're in an airport that you're not carrying drugs, you're not trying to smuggle any drugs. So they'll pat you, literally gently touch you, down. So they start at the top, they start up, and they go down, they pat you down. The security guard patted down the patron. Things can trickle down, they can flow down, and they can run down. In this case, we'll talk about, say, tears. So if I start crying, if I burst out in tears, the tears are trickling down my face. So trickling, they're going from my eyes down to my mouth and falling onto the ground. They're trickling down my face, they're flowing down my face, they're running down my face. The tears flowed down her cheeks. That's the example I've got here. And it could be the rain is on the window, trickling down, flowing down, running down. Again, that movement is down. You pick the verb that you want in order to describe it. You could also use bucket down. That's the idea of having a bucket, you know, a big container and the water coming out. To piss down, not going to explain what piss means. I'm sure you guys know what piss means. Or to pour down. All of these are sort of slangy kind of ways of saying it's raining heavily. It bucketed down last night. If a house is standing up, it's upright, and it catches on fire and it burns up, if it not only burns up, as in the flames go all the way up in the house and it's on fire, but after that, after it's burnt up completely, the house then falls down, so maybe it topples down, maybe it crumbles down, but it falls down, we can say that it burnt down. So this time we've used the verb burn because it was on fire, and that's what's caused it to go from up, down. So the building burnt down in the fire. You can gun someone down, you can shoot someone down, and you can mow them down, which is kind of like, I guess when you use a mower on the lawn, it's chopping the grass and the grass is falling down as a result of being chopped. You can use it figuratively if you're using a gun on a crowd of people and all the people falling down because they've been shot. That's to mow down a crowd of people. So, I mean, this won't be relevant in the future, but at the moment, obviously, you guys will know about what unfortunately happened in Nevada, in America, in Las Vegas, where 59 people were shot. We could say that the man was up in the hotel and he gunned down these people. He shot them down, he mowed them down. So they were standing upright, they got shot, and they fallen to the ground. They were gunned down, shot down, mowed down. You can use it for anything too. Like if a plane is flying in the sky and someone on the ground is shooting it and then it comes down, it hits the ground, you've gunned the plane down, you've shot the enemy plane down, the enemy plane was mowed down. All right, so a few more of these movement ones. Hopefully you guys are getting some good content from this. So when writing something, we write it down, right? Because I guess it's up, it's in our minds, it's what we're talking about, and to write, quite often we have to do that down. We don't write up like this, we don't write against the wall usually. We normally face down when we're writing, and so we write something down. You can take something down. Take that idea or whatever it is that you're talking about and put it on paper, put it down on paper, you're taking it down. So he took notes down in the lecture. He took down the notes in the lecture. You can get down something. You can put it down on paper. You can write it down, and you can also jot something down. And that's the idea of writing it down very quickly. He just jotted it down. He jotted down the notes from the lecture. If you're driving a car that's full of stuff, so you've piled all this stuff on your car, you've put it on the car and the pile has gone up, so it's stacked up, it's piled up, it's heaped up, so the size has increased up. If you put ties over the top, so like ropes over your car, you're tying it down. So the stuff is stacked up, but you're keeping pressure on it to hold it down, right? So you're trying to drive this car. You don't want the stuff to fall off the car. You want the stuff to stay on the car. It's stacked up, but you want to make sure that it stays down. You don't want it to fall off the car. You don't want it to blow up into the air. You want it to stay down. So you can tie down the cargo on your truck. You could nail it down. Maybe there's a tornado coming and the roof of our house could blow off the house. We're worried about it flying off the house. It could fly up into the sky. So we want to keep it down. We want to keep it down. We want to nail it down if we use nails. So we pull out nails, put them in the roof and hammer them in. We're hammering them in to the roof. We're tying the roof down if we use rope. We're nailing it down. Maybe we use glue. We use glue. So we stick some glue under the tiles, under the roof. We're gluing it down. We're trying to keep it down, okay? Tie down, nail down, glue down. Again, pick the verb and the idea of wanting to keep that thing like this. So we say down. We use the particle down. All right, looks like we've got one or so left. One left. All right, sweet. You can pass something. To pass something is to hand something. You can pass something down, or you can hand something down. We can literally use this where someone is below us and we've picked something up, or we've grabbed something from above us and we're passing it down to that person, or we're handing it, we're using our hands, we've got it and we're handing it down to someone. But we can also use this figuratively, well, literally as well, but it's quite often used if you get something from an older sibling. So imagine you've got an older brother or an older sister and they have grown out of their clothing. So they've gotten too big and their clothing has gotten too small for their body. They've grown out of it. And so instead of throwing the clothing out, they've handed it down to their younger sibling. They've handed it down to their smaller sibling. They've passed it down to you or to whoever it is so they can use it and continue to, I guess, wear it out. There's another phrasal verb for you. They're going to wear it out by continuing to wear it, to use it, until it's no longer usable. So he passed his jumper down to his younger brother. All right, number 2. So we're away from the specific movement one, that basic downwards movement. This is reduction, which is loosely tied in with that. So reduction, to reduce something, you can cut down on something, okay? So the company cuts down on costs. It's trying to reduce costs. So costs can blow out or they can blow up like this. If they increase, they can increase out or they can increase up. And if you want to reduce them down, it's that idea. You're just trying to decrease them. I want to reduce the company's costs down. You can also cut down on something like smoking. If I'm smoking 20 cigarettes a day and I reduce that to 10 cigarettes a day, I've cut down on how much I'm smoking. You know, you imagine lining them all up. If the 20 is here, 10's halfway, you've cut down on smoking. You can hush down, quiet down, or quieten down, which is the idea of becoming quieter. So if I start speaking like this, I've hushed down, I've quietened down. So you might hear teachers say this to their students. A teacher rushes into the room, wants to get their class started. They might say, okay, quieten down everyone, let's get started. The teacher told the students to quiet down. The teacher told the students to hush down. Yeah, be quiet. Just reduce the volume. You could also say calm or settle down. So here's settle down again. And this is the basic idea of becoming more calm, of not being as excited. So instead of just, you know, if the students were moving a lot but not making noise, the teacher might just say, calm down, stop moving. Guys, settle down, okay? The parents ask their kids to settle down, as in just become calm and stop being so excited and active. So from here to here, reduce it, bring it down. You might ask someone to slow down. So if someone's driving too fast, they've sped up and you want them to slow down, You would just say, can you slow down? I need you to stop driving so quickly. I just noticed that you sped up and I want you to slow down. So the driver decided to slow down. And maybe he did this by taking his foot off the accelerator. He'd put his foot down on the accelerator or just on the accelerator, and you asked him to take it up off, then you've asked him to slow down. The temperature might cool down. If it's really hot outside during the day, it's heated up. The temperature has increased. It heated up this morning. And then this evening, or the Savo, it cooled down. So again, increase, decrease, reduction after something has gotten to a certain point. So the temperature cooled down in the Arvo. You could also come down from something. So if you were high, which is a verb that means that you are under the influence of drugs, we use that in English quite a bit. If someone has smoked cannabis or they've done a line of cocaine, maybe they've done some heroin, while they're high, like they're up there mentally, we refer to it as being high. After they've stopped becoming so high, they're coming down, right? So their high is reducing, so they're coming down. So he came down after being high on cocaine for 2 hours. You can power something down. So the worker powered the machine down, and that is to reduce the power to something. So you didn't necessarily turn it off, but you brought it down gradually. You've powered something down. So you've let it turn off, I guess, or you've just reduced the power, and it's done this slowly. If you make a story less complicated, so it's complicated up here, and you reduce how complicated it is, you've dumbed it down. So you've made the story, I guess, more stupid. You've made it dumber, simpler. So you've dumbed the story down for someone else. So I dumbed the story down for him. You can die down, or something can die down. If a party is going crazy, everyone isn't calm, they're not settled. So you might want them to settle down or calm down, and maybe hush down and quiet down. If they do that, the party has died down. So it was really excitable, everything was going crazy, and then when it became calm, we can say the party started to die down. It started to die down. You can turn up the music. So if you turn the knob up, like it goes from here to here, you've turned the music up, the volume's increased. And if you turn it down, the volume's decreased. So we turn the music down. So can you guys turn that down? Yeah, all right, the party's starting to die down, so we'll turn it down. It's reducing. Okay. You can come down with something. So this would be the idea of getting sick. I came down with the cold. You came down with a cold. You've become sick. You've become ill. So your health was here, and then you've come down with a sickness, with a cold, with something. And it's usually a cold. That's a collocation there. I came down with the flu or with a cold. You can go down with something. This is the idea of something sinking, like a ship. So the captain went down with his ship, or the ship went down off the coast. So it was off the coast. The coast's here, and it's off the coast, and it sank. It went down, literally into the water. Something can wear down. So, for instance, I have a pencil here. As I write, the tip of the pencil, it wears down. Even though it's going in this direction, because it's reducing, we say it's wearing down. So even if I'm pointing the pencil down, and so as it wears, the lead, this part of the pencil is actually going upwards. Because it's reducing, we say it's wearing down. And the same with teeth, for instance. A crocodile's teeth, either row, I guess, it could be the bottom row or it could be the top row. If the teeth reduce in length, in size, they're wearing down. And they're wearing because he's using them, right? So the sole of your shoe, if it wears, it can wear down even though it's going in this direction. You could turn the shoe upside down and it's doing that. But the old croc's teeth had worn down. So he was eating so much, maybe he ate some rocks, and his teeth wore down. All right, number 3 now. To depress, upset, or reject. Put down. So you can put someone down, or you can put down someone. And this is the idea of, I guess, depressing them, making them upset by being mean to them. Usually by trying to bring down their ego, I guess, by saying something nasty. So you guys could put me down by saying, you're ugly, Pete. You have no hair. So you're putting me down. You're insulting me. You're trying to make me feel, happy here, and then you're trying to make me feel sad. So you're bringing my attitude down. You're depressing me. You're upsetting me. You're rejecting me, I guess. Sort of rejecting me. We don't like you. That's putting me down. So he always puts me down. You can bring someone down or bring down someone. So every time my footy team loses, that brings me down. It makes me sad. I'm really happy beforehand, and then I become incredibly sad and depressed. It brings me down. I was up here, and now I'm down here with my mood. So you'll often hear this quite a bit in English with us referring to mood or attitude. If someone's happy, they tend to be up, so like upbeat. If someone's sad and depressed, they're down. Yeah, I'm a bit down. So my footy team lost, and when that happens, when my team loses, it really brings me down. You could tell someone some sad news, and that could bring them down, okay? So you can also get someone down, or you can get down yourself. Again, it's just to become depressed. Being alone can get you down. When I'm alone, I get down, so I feel sad. You could break down, so maybe you got down or someone brought you down to the point that you started crying or you became really depressed, upset, visibly upset. This would be the idea of breaking down. So she broke down into tears. She broke down into tears. You can let someone down or you can let something down, and that would be like, I guess we'll get to the figurative meaning of let down later on. But if you let down something like a tire was pumped up, so you pumped the tire up until it was full. And if you let the air out of the tire, so the air is in the tire and you let it out of the tire retracts, it becomes smaller, it depresses in size, you're letting it down. But we can also use this figuratively for you've done the wrong thing by someone. And I'll go over this in a bit, but the example sentence here is, he let us all down. You could turn someone down, or you could reject something. It doesn't have to be someone. So maybe someone offered me a new job and I said, sorry guys, I can't, I'm not interested. That's me turning the job down. So imagine me doing this thumbs up, thumbs down. This is yes, that's no. I'm turning it down. No thanks. I turned down the offer, or I turned the offer down. If a girl was here that I was interested in and I wanted to ask her out, so I said to her, let's go out sometime. We'll grab a coffee. It'll be fun. If she said, yeah, nah, no thanks, she's turned me down, but she's also shot me down. So this is where we can use shot, as in like I'm a plane and she shot the plane and the plane's crashed. I was up here thinking I'm all awesome and that I'm going to go out with this girl, and she shot me down when she said, yeah, I'm not interested. So I asked her out, but she shot me down. I guess it's like deny someone, reject someone. You can look down on someone, and that's the idea that you have a really high opinion of yourself, or that you just don't like the person, or you think very little of them. So if you look down on someone, imagine you're up here and you're looking down on them like they're a small, less equal person to you. You're up here, they're down there. So you look down on someone. So if you don't like homeless people and you complain about it, or it's obvious that you don't like them, people know about it, they could say, we can tell you look down on homeless people. So you think you're better than the homeless people. So you look down on something. Maybe you could look down on an activity. So if someone smokes cannabis or drinks alcohol or skateboards and you think it's stupid, you might look down on it or look down on them for doing it. And you'll often hear the expression to look down one's nose at something. So if you look down your nose at something, it's like you're holding your head up and you're looking down your nose at the person, okay? You can also talk down to someone. Again, the basic idea being you're up here, The person's down here below you, they're not equal to you, you're better than them, and you're talking down to them. So it's kind of like you're talking to them like they're below you. They're not as good as you. So my boss talks down to me sometimes. So he could say, you're a horrible person, you suck at this, you can't work, you're hopeless. He's talking down to me because he thinks he's up here better than me. All right, number four, guys, to restrict. So that's the idea of not being able to move, for something to be restricted. So a business could be shut down or closed down, and that's the idea of it no longer functioning. It's no longer open, it's closed. So it's been closed down or it's been shut, as in like the opposite of open, shut, same as closed. It's been shut down. It can be temporary, could be permanent, but the business shut down for the day, or maybe they were doing something illegal and the police shut them down permanently. Okay, shut down, close down. The police could also come down on something, crack down on something, and clamp down on something. So this is the idea of them stopping that thing, restricting that thing, becoming more severe with punishing that thing. So for instance, if they were really against smoking weed, smoking cannabis, in Australia, and they decided we're going to increase the laws and make them more severe, then you could say they're coming down on people who smoke cannabis, or they're cracking down on drug use, or they're clamping down on people who use recreational drugs, whatever it is. So the police crack down on crime. You could have something like a bird of prey, so like an eagle or a falcon or a kestrel, could be anything, a hawk. If it grabs its prey and it closes its claws around its prey, it's pinned its prey down when it's taken its prey and put its weight on the prey. So the prey's been pushed into the ground, so the animal that it's caught, you could say that it's pinned its prey down or it's holding its prey down, okay? The bird held down its prey with its claws as it began to eat it. So it's restricting the animal's movement. The animal was, free and blah, 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 doing this, and it got caught and then pushed down, so it's being pinned down, it's being held down. Sort of the same thing, imagine you're a lion on the Serengeti Plains in Africa and you are hunting zebra, or zebra, we can pronounce it either way. If a lion is hunting zebra and it catches the zebra, so imagine it's chasing after a zebra, it catches up to, so it reaches the zebra, and then it pulls the zebra down, we can say that it has tracked it, so it's found the tracks, found the zebra, tracked it down. It's chased it, caught it, chased it down. It's hunted it, caught up to it, hunted it down. So it's gotten the animal to the ground, we can say tracked down, chased down, hunted down. The lion hunted down the zebra. Police could narrow down a list of suspects. So that's the idea of, imagine they have 50 names on a list of people who committed a murder. And they reduce the list, they restrict the list all the way down to 2 names. So they've narrowed down. It was wide and it became narrow. So it's gone from here to here. So it's reduced, it's restricted. We can use the particle down. So the detective narrowed down his list of suspects. You can go down for something. If you go down for a crime, this is the idea that you get caught for it. You get the blame for it. So imagine you're up, you get caught, brought to the ground, literally, but figuratively in the sense that you are caught for a crime and then go to jail, you go down for the crime. You can also reduce something down. So prices could really be reduced down, but it's kind of redundant because reduce, restrict, it already kind of has that idea of the thing going from here to here. But you might hear from time to time that the sale reduced down the prices. So it's brought the prices down. Let's go through some miscellaneous ones, guys, and then we can get into the expressions and finish up with a Q&A section. So miscellaneous ones, you can come down to something, or something can come down to something. This is usually when it's like the final thing, okay? So it all comes down to this. Imagine that someone is playing football, they mark the ball, they catch it, the siren goes off, the siren goes, so there's nothing left of the game, they just get their kick at the goal and that's it. Imagine their scores are level, so everything comes down to this guy getting this score or not getting the score. So the game comes down to the last move, or this last move. It all comes down to this. It relies on this thing. You could put down to something. So this is to sort of mean that you think this is the cause of something. If you put something down to something. So if I get sick, and I put the flu down to the cold weather, that's me saying that the reason I'm sick is because of the cold weather. So I put it down to the cold weather. That's a very figurative, weird one that has it doesn't feel like it has a literal sort of attachment to any of those previous 4 explanations of how to use down. So I put this flu down to the cold weather. You can wave down a taxi. So you might wave someone down. This is the idea of getting a car to stop. So someone's driving along and you walk out in front of the road and wave and the car stops. You're waving the car down. You're quite often going to hear this just referring to taxis and people in places like cities waving to get the attention of a taxi. If the taxi stops to take them home, they've waved the taxi down. So they waved a taxi down to take them home. You can lay something down. So that's the idea of putting it on the ground, whether it's you yourself or it is something like a gun. So it's relinquishing it. It is putting it down, giving it up, surrendering it. So you might lay down your life. Soldiers in World War II laid down their lives for their countries. So they relinquished their lives. They gave their lives. They laid their lives down. The soldiers could also have laid down their arms, so imagine their guns, and they surrendered. The soldiers laid down their arms and surrendered. You can hunker down and knuckle down. We use these kind of colloquially to mean work hard. The idea of, I guess, getting down and doing something, concentrating on that one thing. We need to hunker down and get this work done. Or we need to knuckle down. I guess that's knuckles are these. Knuckle down and get the work done. So let down, fail to support or help someone as they had hoped. So I didn't show up to work and it let my boss down. So he got really depressed as a result, or maybe he required me. He hoped I was going to show up to work in order to help him. By not showing up, I failed to support him, so I let him down. It could also be convey bad or disappointing news to someone, but in a polite, kind of considerate way, sort of to spare the person's self-respect, right? So they're not, they don't look like an idiot and you haven't put them down, you haven't shot them down. So for instance, if I asked a girl out to go on a date, again, this same example, instead of her shooting me down by saying, yeah, no way, if she was really polite and said, I would love to, but I have a boyfriend. I'm sorry, but you seem like a really nice guy. That's her letting me down slowly, letting me down gently, letting me down nicely. She's not putting me down. She's not being horrible. She's letting me down gently. So she doesn't like that guy over there, but she's letting him down gently. What a good chick. So what else have we got here? All right, let's get into the expressions. Almost done, guys. Almost done. So come down to something. We went through that one. You can bring, knock, or take someone down a peg. This is a common one. A peg is, imagine that, when you've got like a wooden thing, I don't even know what this thing's called, holes in a wall. A peg is the wooden thing that goes in the holes in the wall. I'm not sure where this originates from, but it means to reduce or damage someone's ego or pride. So to make them more humble, sort of humiliate that person. So you want to bring them down a few pegs or bring them down a peg or two, knock them down. So that's the idea of hitting them, knock them down a peg or take them down a peg. So this guy needs to be brought down a peg or two. He thinks too much of himself. He's really arrogant. He's got a huge ego. We need to humiliate him, make him humble, reduce his ego. We need to bring him down a peg or two. You can be down on your luck, meaning you've been unlucky. So he lost his dog, his wife divorced him, and his house burnt down. He's really been down on his luck lately. You can get bogged down in something, usually details. If you get bogged down in the details, you are bogged down or you get bogged down. It's to be caught up in something. So that's like to be burdened with, to be prevented from making progress because of this thing. So imagine you get caught in a net, and I guess caught up is like to be stuck in that net. To get bogged is to like have your wheels in a car go into the sand or go into mud, and then you get stuck. And when that happens, the car goes from being here to here. So it goes down, right? So you get bogged down. If you get bogged down, you're getting stuck on things or in something, and it's usually the details of, say, a specific task. If someone just wants you to do something, they might just say, don't get bogged down in the details, just do it. So it's not important. Don't get bogged down in the details. So I could say to you guys, don't get bogged down with memorizing every single phrasal verb. Just learn how to use the particles and the verbs, and you'll be sweet. You can come down on someone like a ton of bricks, like a ton of bricks. So bricks are what you make a wall out of. You know, those things that are about this big. They tend to be made of clay and other things, bricks. So if you come down on someone like a ton of bricks, you imagine, you know, a ton as in 1,000 kilos of bricks falling on someone. You've come down on that person really, really harshly. So it could be like with punishments. I wagged school and both my parents and teachers came down on me like a ton of bricks. Or maybe the judge came down on the criminal like a ton of bricks. So you really got punished badly. You cannot let someone down. This is usually used in the negative. Don't let it get you down. So don't let it get you down. This is don't let it make you sad or don't let it depress you. So your footy team lost, but don't let it get you down. You can let your guard down. This is the idea of becoming vulnerable emotionally. Maybe you get a boyfriend and you decide, I'm going to let my guard down and be honest with him about my feelings. If you've got your guard up, you're not being honest, or you're not telling him everything that you're feeling and thinking. So your guard is up. Or it could be literal, where like a security guard has let his guard down. Maybe he's playing on his phone and his guard isn't up, he's let it down, and you snuck in. So the security guard let his guard down and we snuck into the building, whatever it is. If you never live something down, this is the idea of never being able to overcome, to reduce or cause others to forget about something shameful or embarrassing that's happened. So imagine that you get really drunk at a party and you throw up everywhere. You couldn't keep the food down, or that you couldn't keep the drink down after you'd necked them all down, and you threw up everywhere, you vomited it up. And embarrassed yourself. It was very shameful. You could say, I never thought I was going to live it down. As in, I never thought anyone was ever going to forget this thing. They were always going to remind me of it. I'd never live it down. 3 to go. Let your hair down. I don't really have any, but if you let your hair down, it's like to relax, to stop being so formal and conservative. So imagine you've got your hair tied up. If you're a girl and you want to let it down, it's to take the ties out of your hair and let your hair come down, so to relax. So after a long week at work, she went out with her girlfriends and let her hair down. This is the idea of she went out and relaxed and stopped being so strict, formal, conservative. Get down to business. This is to begin doing what needs to be done. Needs to be done. So we have to get down to business. So we started the meeting, we didn't muck around, we got straight down to business, okay? So it's to begin doing what needs to be done. And the very last one, guys, is to get something down pat. So we went down pat before. I don't know why it's used here, but if you get something down pat, it means to learn something by heart. So to learn something perfectly, to get it down pat. So by the end of this course, you guys will have gotten phrasal verbs down pat, okay? You'll have learnt them by heart. You'll know how to use them perfectly. You'll have gotten phrasal verbs down pat. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you in the next episode. Good job, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I know they're quite long, and it's just me talking. But if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions about what we just went through with the phrasal verbs, if you have any questions about English, anything at all, feel free to ask me right now and I'll answer for you guys. So Zuli wants to know the difference between cool down versus cool off. So it's cool down and cool off. So these are just two ways of saying the same thing. We're just thinking of it in two different ways, right? So you would imagine that if something reduces in temperature, so it heats up and it cools down. It heats up, cools down. So if you ask someone to cool down, it means calm down, don't be so angry. Off would be the idea of the heat coming off the thing, whatever it is. So imagine you've got a pan full of water on the stove and there's smokes coming off it, or not smoke, but steam is coming off the pan. If it cools off, it's cooling because all the heat is coming off the thing. So it's cooling off. I'm not sure why we use off there, apart from to think the stuff's coming off, which is causing it to cool down. But they both mean pretty much the same thing. So Samane asks, when do we use conscious me? What's an example of how you would use that, Samana? Can you give me an example sentence? I'm not 100% sure. Lale, okay, in the meantime. Is there a difference in the pronunciation of shut and short? Yes, there is. So it's like cup, cop. See my lips? Shut, shot. So my lips come into kind of a ring shape when I do the ah, shut, shot, cup, cop. So that's the basic difference there between those two. Alrighty then. So I was also going to ask, guys, while I'm waiting for some more questions, are you guys enjoying the podcast, and do you have any feedback for things that you would like to hear on the podcast that aren't just about learning English, that aren't just interviews, that aren't just, me doing phrasal verbs at the moment? Do you guys have any suggestions? I was thinking about doing shorter episodes about interesting facts. I watch a lot of YouTube videos that ask weird questions like how long until the moon won't be circular, going around the earth? What will the world look like in 100 million years? I've been thinking about answering some of those questions and creating episodes for the podcast that were shorter and sort of just trivial facts. What do you guys think about those? And while you're having a think, Mojde asks, what does down under mean? Down under means Australia. Australia. We use that to refer to Australia because Australia is down under the equator. So it's, if the equator of the earth is here, you imagine you've got, the world like this and the equator's in the middle. The northern hemisphere's up here where everyone like America, Canada, England, they're all in the north, and we're down under the equator. So Australia's down here, we're down under. So that's how we got that nickname, Down Under. Short episodes would be good. Awesome, guys. Yeah, so I'm thinking about doing that and having people transcribe them as they had done sort of recently. We were doing that. Pecha and Chris were doing that quite a bit. All right, bother with or bother by, are they different? Yeah, they are. Like, it just, again, it depends on the context. You have sentences where you've heard these used because they become difficult for me to explain unless I have a specific example. So if I said to someone, don't bother with that, that's me telling them don't do that thing. Don't hassle yourself. Don't go to the trouble of doing that thing. Don't bother yourself with that task. But, so it would be bother with and then a noun. That's when I would use to bother with something. If I said don't bother by and then I finish the sentence, it would be with a verb in the gerund. So it would be like don't bother by coming over. Yeah, that sounds a bit weird. I'd probably stick with, but I think it's just whether or not you use a noun or a verb in the gerund acting as a noun. So, or if you were, by can be used in so many different ways. That's a really difficult one. So if something was annoying you, you could say that I was getting bothered by that thing. That thing was bothering me. I was being bothered by that thing. So that's where you've used the passive voice. So these are the kinds of things that are very nuanced and subtle. It's not really that important to nail these every single time. People will understand what you mean, but you'll just get better at these the more you read, the more you talk, and the more you expose yourself to the language. It's kind of not worth trying to remember 100 different grammar rules. I would just go out there and use them, read them, keep absorbing them, okay? What else have we got here? Rocio likes the idea. Awesome. Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. If we do some trivial stuff where I'm talking about things outside of English, like crazy facts, maybe I could do facts about Australia, where I talk about the kangaroo or how Uluru formed in the desert, all that sort of stuff. You guys will get all sorts of different vocab that will be required when I make those episodes. So that's why I was thinking about it. Lale asks, what does I can't be bothered mean? I can't be bothered means I don't have the will to do it. So if I was busy tonight, or not even busy, but I didn't want to do this live lesson because I was busy playing a video game, or maybe I felt like sleeping, I could say, yeah, I can't be bothered, meaning I just don't have the will to do it. I don't really want to. I can't be bothered. It's a very common expression you'll hear people use pretty much everywhere in the English-speaking world, I imagine. They would use this, I can't be bothered, meaning they don't have the energy, they don't have the will to do that thing. But literally, to bother someone is to be annoyed, okay? So to annoy someone, he's really bothering me. It means that I don't like what he's doing, or him, or whatever it is. So I guess the idea there would be, if I can't be bothered, it would be that someone can't annoy me enough to get me to do that thing. Maybe that's what I originally came from. I can't be bothered. Or maybe I don't want anyone to bother me to do that thing, so I can't be bothered. That's a good one though, use that. Karina wants to know, is it right for her to use my bad? When I use my bad or my mistake, how can I apologize for something? That's a really good one. My bad is a pretty slang, colloquial, informal way of saying sorry, admitting fault, apologizing for something that you've done. So if I bumped into someone in the street, I accidentally, bumped into them without seeing them, I could say, oh, sorry, my bad. And that's me admitting guilt straight away, saying that was my fault, my bad. So the thing was bad and it was mine because I did it, I caused it, my bad. You can also say my mistake. That would be a little more formal, a little less informal, I guess. But yeah, use both of those. They're not rude. They're both 100% fine to use. Rocio. The part I enjoy most, though, is the connected speech part. It's amazing how those tips change everything for understanding and becoming better at being fluent. Yeah, I try and keep that in there, but I haven't had much feedback about the connected speech stuff. So I was never sure if people really liked it, if they weren't using it. So I'm glad that you let me know, because it's always important for me to work out what you guys like and don't like, so that I can keep improving it. So Monchtet, please teach us phrasal verbs commonly used to speak in restaurant, school, shopping, business. Ugh, well, I can't do that right now, but I'll try and do that in the future, mate. Videos on Aussie animals would be great. The joke is also good fun. All right. Awesome, guys. It looks like we're out of questions. Thank you so much for sticking with this entire episode. We've just run for about an hour, so I really appreciate it, guys. Remember, if you want to sign up for this course, You save $13 if you sign up for it now, and you're going to get all these videos with all the extra content so that you can learn to use phrasal verbs effortlessly. Sign up, give it a go. I know you guys are going to love it, and I'll see you hopefully on Monday. Catch you later.